The 5 Side Effects of Kindness. Written and read by David R. Hamilton, PhD. In the sweetness of friendship, let there be laughter and sharing of pleasures. For in the dew of little things, the heart finds its morning and is refreshed. Khalil Gibran, the Prophet. Introduction. Why Kindness is Good for You was my 4th book, published in February 2010. About a year later, I wrote a blog for my website that was based on some of the content from the book, called The 5 Side Effects of Kindness. As with all blogs I write, I posted it and then left it alone. But a few years later, I started to check my web statistics, how many people visited my site every month, which pages are being viewed, etc. And I noticed that whenever I posted a blog, the number of views would peak that day and gradually drop over the next few days. But that hadn't happened with the 5 Side Effects of Kindness. It was still getting large numbers of views. In fact, in many of the months since I'd posted it, it had had more views than when I'd first posted it. On average, it had been getting about 1,000 page views every month, and over the 5 years, it had become the most viewed blog on my website. It had been viewed in over 150 countries, and people had even started making up little infographics with the side effects on them and posting them online. So I decided to turn it into a book. There has been a lot more scientific research in the area of kindness since I'd first written Why Kindness is Good for You, so there was a wealth of new information to draw on. I took about 10% of the content of Why Kindness is Good for You, rewrote it, restructured it, made it shorter, and added 90% new content. This is the result. In this book, you'll learn how kindness alters the brain, how it dilates arteries and lowers blood pressure. You'll learn that it is an antidote to depression and that it slows the 7 big processes of ageing, and even ageing at the cellular level. And you'll learn that we're all wired for kindness. Despite what you might have been told, we're not inherently selfish. The truth is, we're inherently kind. Someone asked me, why side effects? Why not just 5 benefits of kindness? The answer is that I feel like side effects is a term more likely to capture people's attention. Also, we usually think of side effects in the context of the negative side effects of a drug. As a former scientist from the pharmaceutical industry, it feels good to be rebranding the term. A side effect occurs alongside what's intended. When we intend to be kind, we may not expect anything to happen, but many things do happen. So what are the 5 side effects of kindness? Well, I don't want to give too much away and deprive you of the fun of reading on, but in a nutshell, kindness makes us happier, it's good for the heart, it slows ageing, it improves our relationships, and it's contagious. These are the 5 things that occur alongside acts of kindness. There's a chapter dedicated to each of these side effects in turn, in which you'll learn about how and why it happens, the science that proves it, how it plays out in our lives and how it affects children, adults and older people. Along the way, there are also a few stories of acts of kindness performed by ordinary people and 50 suggestions for acts of kindness you can do yourself. As well as nuggets of wisdom and advice to enhance your life, there's even some relationship advice that's born out of research where scientists watched people interact for just 15 minutes and then predicted with over 90% accuracy whether a relationship would stand the test of time or not. There are certain things that you can do that pretty much guarantee a relationship will last, and of course, kindness is involved. But before we dive into learning all about the 5 side effects of kindness, there are a few questions that often come up when I talk about the benefits of kindness. They are all along the lines of, why should we be seeking to benefit from an act of kindness? Doesn't that make it selfish rather than kind? It's an important issue given that this book is about the benefits you get from being kind. Is kindness selfish if you know you'll benefit from it? I found the answer isn't quite yes or no. It really depends. What are you doing? Are you A, trying to benefit from being kind, or B, aware that you benefit from kindness, but being kind anyway because it's the right thing to do? Most people assume that A is selfish. Maybe. But I don't think we should be quite so black and white in our assessments of things. I think we would do well not to judge so much. Before we jump to conclusions, let's look at a few scenarios. Being kind to people helps alleviate depression. So what if you're suffering from depression and decide to volunteer for a charity, knowing that it will help you feel better? Does that make you selfish? Or does it mean you're reaching out for help yourself? What if, knowing that showing empathy is better for your heart than judging people, you choose to listen to someone? Is that choice a selfish one? Or if knowing that helping someone feels good and that connection warms the heart, you refrain from helping lest you taint the purity of your motives? Not easy, is it? Gratitude makes us happier too. Is it selfish then to count your blessings or to say thank you because doing so will make you feel better? The subject can become quite complex, but we can also make it astonishingly simple just by being kind anyway and leaving others to get on with things in their own way. That's become my philosophy on it. I think we can get too bogged down with questioning whether we're being selfish or not, and that the time we waste thinking about it is time we could use to help others. My motive for writing this book is to create a dialogue about kindness, to consider it in ways we might not have thought of before. Talking about kindness motivates us to be kind. But there are times when the best thing isn't to talk at all, but just to go on out there and be kind. I remember that when my dog Oscar was alive, I was well aware that playing with a dog boosted levels of the hormone oxytocin and that it was very good for the heart. Did I play with him more because I knew that? Was that on my mind when he brought a ball to me and nudged me as if to say, "Dad, come and play with me"? What do you think? In the moment of being kind, something takes over. We act kindly because something inside of us knows it's the right thing to do. Any thoughts about benefits or other reasons just disappear and are replaced with a feeling of connection, a sense of compassion, a desire to see relief, or a smile appear on a person's face, or a dog's tail start to wag, and a wish to know that the person we're helping will be okay. Kindness is much bigger than any words and questions we can put around it. It's much bigger than our philosophies, than our debates about whether we're really altruistic or selfish. Kindness isn't black and white, it's multicoloured. In fact, kindness just is. It has its own spirit of sorts. We tap into this spirit the moment we help someone, whether it's holding a door open, saying, "Thanks, I appreciate you," buying a gift that we think someone will like, or sharing someone's workload to help ease their stress. Some say that kindness is a form of self-preservation. In a way it is. It builds relationships and thus strengthens society. So by extension, it ensures our protection and survival. But that's not just protection and survival of the individual, but of the whole. I think our world, from the personal worlds of our households, places of work and communities, to the wider world, always benefits from kindness. Several years ago, while experiencing my mum's helping hand and witnessing the kindness she showed to everyone in the family, I realised that kindness brought people together. The American cultural anthropologist Margaret Mead once said, "Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has." Inspired by these words, I formed my guiding philosophy that a small group of people with compassion and kindness in their hearts could change the world. In this modern, interconnected world, there are no isolated acts of kindness. Kindness creates ripples in the fabric of human relationships and human society. These ripples impact the hearts and minds of other people, who in turn create ripples of their own. Each seemingly isolated act of kindness matters more than we think. The Buddha once said, "Thousands of candles can be lit from a single candle, and the life of the candle will not be shortened. Happiness never decreases by being shared." It's the same with kindness. The notion of giving suggests that we now have less. But with kindness, we don't have less when we give, we have more. It's the kindness paradox. We are lifted by the spirit of kindness too, when giving doesn't cause any stress, that is. But what if it does? It really bugs me when they don't say thanks. They never do anything for me. These are very typical sentiments. There are two things to consider here. First, we shouldn't wear ourselves out by giving and giving and giving, only for our kindness to be met with expectation or, worse, ingratitude. Everyone deserves to be appreciated. We might quite rightly wonder if there are other people in other places who might appreciate us more. because we have a right to that appreciation. The other thing to consider at such times is that kindness is less stressful when there are no strings attached. Stress occurs when we expect something in return and don't get it. But it doesn't if we have no expectations. If we decide that this is who I am kind, and leave it at that. These two considerations are irrelevant for some people because they have grateful people around them and people who show them kindness. But they are very relevant to those whose immediate family members, friends, colleagues, etc. just keep taking without any appreciation whatsoever. We each need to find our own balance point so that our needs are met, and this really depends on the context of our own lives, the people around us, our environment, what we do, where we work, our mental and emotional health, and our physical health. And if we are overstretched and underappreciated, we have to decide if we're happy to accept more of the same or if it's time for a change. We need to be kind to ourselves. The world isn't a place where everyone is happy, where everyone has their needs met on a daily basis. So we need kindness. We need to show kindness to ourselves and others. We depend upon each other. Kindness holds the fabric of human society together. I grew up in a small community in central Scotland. Everyone helped each other. Everyone looked out for each other. It wasn't uncommon to have a neighbour knock on our door and ask to borrow a cup of sugar, a few slices of bread or some milk. It was this sharing that knitted our community together. Kindness benefits us all. That's an unavoidable fact. It makes us happier. That's an immediate gain. It's also good for the heart and it improves our relationships. If we live a lifetime of kindness, thousands of people might benefit from it, and our lifetime will not be shortened by it. In fact, it will be extended. My advice is to be kind because it's the right thing to do, because someone you know is suffering and needs help, because a random opportunity presents itself as you go about your day, because it's nice, and because there's something in human nature that enjoys the connections we create through helping each other. So let's just get on with being kind and enjoying the side effects.